Hi guys, good afternoon. Are you all seeing me and hearing me? Let's confirm on the chat. Okay, great. Great. So I'm seeing the entire team is here. Good afternoon once again. Apparently I was using the wrong link. So thanks Jude for sending this link. Thanks for alerting me guys, right? Yeah. I'm seeing 21 students thus far. I'm seeing 21, 22 students thus far, right? Okay, great, fantastic. So good afternoon once again. I know today is our second session, online session for International Human Resource Management. I know that you would have had two sessions already, right? Two sessions already for the day, that is, with Vinua and Hall. So I'm the last session for this afternoon. And they always say the best session is for last. So that's a quick joke, right? Just to recap very quickly where we are at in terms of the IHRM assignment, coursework assignment number 2, your individual report. Last week, I would have gone through in slow motion the assignment requirements, the actual brief the university gave us for assignment 2 in slow motion. And I would have shared that file with you all via email as well. Then we started going through the assignment in detail, looking at the technical content, right? Looking at the technical content, right? Looking at the technical content for that assignment. To that effect, I would have emailed a PowerPoint slide presentation using Jude to the team so you can see exactly what we discussed, right? The assignment is a very predictable assignment, right? It hasn't varied much when compared to the previous assignments. So it makes the assignment very doable, but it requires a great deal of research and understanding of the technical content. And last week, we covered a great deal of the technical content. I'm assuming that you will have had time during the course of this week to go through those documents, look at the assignment brief, and start some preliminary research on the assignment as we inch closer towards the submission deadline, somewhere towards the end of April, right? Somewhere to the end of April. So I'm going to share my screen. Again, I'm going to share my screen. And as I share my screen, I'm looking for the particular file that I would like to share, right, with you all. Good. So as I share my screen, right, with you all, I'm going to go through what we are going to cover today. So IHRM assignment number 2, the 70% individual report, Saturday 23rd, which is today, Saturday 28th in particular, Saturday 28th, March 2020. We want to recap the assignment requirements. One, today we want to look at the assignment structure, discuss factors for standardization of IHRM practices, which we started discussing last week, as well as discuss factors for localization of IHRM practices. For localization of IHRM practices, right? So very quickly, let's look at the assignment requirements. Very quickly, let's look at the assignment requirements, and I have it at the very beginning, right? The assignment requirements. You are independent HR consultant employed to advise the British MNC on what they need to consider in order to establish a subsidiary in Malaysia. you are expected to write a 2,000 word plus or minus word report. So the assignment is asking you all to create a pest analysis or design a pest analysis for a British MNC seeking to set up some new operations, such as a new subsidiary in the Malaysian domestic market. So you are required to initially to set up a pest analysis of or for this British multinational in setting up a new operation, a new subsidiary in the new host country location of Malaysia. So that's the major theme of the assignment, right? The major theme of the assignment, right? As we drill down into that theme, there are 3 sub-questions that you must answer for this assignment. You will need to consider what are the important factors multinational corporations have to consider when deciding the setup of HR functions in different geographic locations internationally. 2, critically analyze which functions can be managed from headquarters and which functions can be local. And then 3, provide rationale for your reasoning and the advantages of having a local focus in your chosen functions, right? Having a local focus in your chosen functions. Specific instructions, right? You are required to be as wide regional as possible, right, in your research, right, offering students the opportunity to display your knowledge of cross-cultural issues, the role of expatriates, and the role of national managers, and the role of national managers, right, and the role of national managers, right. It will not be necessary for students to write about every factor that MNC will take into consideration, but to choose those which are critical, to decisions. This offers students to write in depth on between 3 to 5 issues, rather than writing very little about many and failing to critically analyze important issues in detail. Now, if you look at the assignment, brief, the assignment brief has about 10 themes they would like to see the student explore, right, in their write-up for this assignment. And it starts with sustainability. So again, I am assuming that you would have read the assignment brief about 5 times. I am assuming that you would have read the assignment brief about 5 times and that you are familiar with the requirements of the assignment, and you would have started some preliminary research on the assignment topic, and you would have reviewed my slides as well. Again, based on last week's discussion, we would have indicated that the topic for the assignment is the standardization of international human resource functions by MNCs and the localization of HRM functions by MNCs. That's the assignment topic. And that's very important as you do your research, on Google Scholar, on UH, EBSCO, etc. Right? Just to rehash very quickly, right? Standardization of HRM functions is simply a case where, well, for this assignment, is where the British multinational, right, being UK and British in nature, may opt to use parent country or UK HRM functions, right, as they embark on new operations in Malaysia, right? So rather than use Malaysian HRM functions to manage people in the Malaysian subsidiary, the company may decide to use westernized UK-based HRM functions in Malaysia. And that's a case of standardization, where both the host country and the parent company all use the same style of HRM functions. Yeah? All use the same style of HRM functions. You for me, guys? Yep. I'm just managing participants here. Yep. Okay. So I just posted a message on the chat. Are you guys hearing me? And in some instances, seeing me by chance? Okay, great. So the entire team is here, right? You might be getting some feedback, right? For example, like traffic or highway feedback. I reside close to the highway. Yeah. Hi, Kemba, Julio, Ian, Siobhan, Bridget. Excellent. Good. So that's standardization of HRM. Localization of HRM functions. This is where the new subsidiary being established in Malaysia may be given the autonomy by the parent company in the UK to use Malaysian style and Malaysian type of HRM functions in the domestic market of Malaysia. So in many respects, the subsidiary may be empowered. They may be given that independence, that freedom then to use Malaysian style of HRM functions, right, as that practice in the host country of Malaysia. And that's the case for polycentrism, polycentric or polycentrism, or localization of HRM practices, right? Now, the British MNC will have to carefully consider this decision, whether to standardize their HRM functions across the board, in this case, right, in Malaysia, or to allow the new subsidiary to use Malaysian style of HRM practices. So you must clearly discuss and clearly introduce that the decision whether to standardize HRM functions or localize HRM functions in a new subsidiary in Malaysia is a strategic decision. It's a high-level strategic decision that the multinational company must make, right? So it's a strategic decision that the multinational company, right, must make. So I would think that we would have done a fair job of recapping the assignment requirements. I know many of you may have started some preliminary work, because some of you started asking me for an assignment structure, right? An assignment structure for the assignment. As you piece up the information, you want to start putting the information together, right, for your individual report, right? For your individual report. A possible assignment structure for the assignment is 2,000 words is an individual report, I may remind you. So you must have your cover page with your student ID, your student name, the module ID, the name of the module. Me is a report, so you should have a table of contents, right? An introduction section, right? Introduction section or executive summary, right? Or an executive, right? Or executive summary. Then 4 to 5 headings which relate to the assignment requirements. Then 4 to 5 headings, right, which relate to the assignment requirements. 4 to 5 headings which relate, right, which relate to the assignment requirements. And you have a conclusion section, not so, a conclusion section. And then you may have your appendices and so on for any charts and graphs and so on that you would have used. And then you have the last section, your bibliography or your references section, as so typically called. I believe at this point in time, the cover page, the table of contents, and the appendices and references section are not included in your 2,000 word limit, right? Are not included in your 2,000 words, right, word limit. Right, so the word limit is really for your introduction, your 4 to 5 headings, and then your conclusion section. right? And then your conclusion section. Again, you have to assume your role for the assignment. Your role, right, is an HR consultant advising the British multinational, advising the British multinational. So there's a possible assignment structure in terms of layout, in terms of sequencing of the sections. And it's a continuous report, so do not place a section on a new page. Do not place a section on a new page. Do not place a section on a new page. It is a continuous report. More than one sections can go on a page. More than one sections can go on a page. And I repeat that, more than one sections can go on a page. Take a 5 minutes and digest some possible headings for the assignment, right? Some possible headings for the assignment. So for the first sections, you have your introduction section, right, or executive summary. It's a report. You are the consultant. That gives, that introduces what is the report all about, the scope of the report, and a presentation listing of the personal analysis and what factors you are prepared to discuss, right? The main theme of the assignment is a personal analysis of Malaysia, right? Personal analysis, right? Personal analysis of a British MNC entering Malaysia. Not a personal analysis of Malaysia, but a personal analysis of a British multinational seeking to set up a new subsidiary in the Malaysian territory, right? Now, again, the personal analysis must be highlighted at the beginning because that's the major theme of the assignment, right? So you may want to do it in the form of words, essay type response. You have your heading, political factors, then another heading, economic factors, then S, then social factors, then T, technological factors, then L, legal factors, E, environmental. So all these are headings, right? So, and then you can have a link, a reference link to a table in your appendices, right? Giving some more detailed information on your personal analysis. So you have a written narrative of your personal analysis for the report, and then in your appendix section, you may have a table perhaps, right? Drilling down into each of the factors of the personal analysis. So in that way, you get to introduce an appendix very, very early on in the assignment, because you may not have that word count to discuss the personal analysis in detail, but you can have a reference link to an appendix, right? You can have a reference link to an appendix, right? Good. Then 3.0 may have factors supporting the standardization, right, of human resource practices in company X. That can be one possible heading. I won't advise you to use it. You can actually put the factor. You can put cultural factors and standardization in Malaysia. We can put what? Parent company related factors and standardization, right, in company X. So you don't have to use this heading. This is just a hint showing you how to break down the assignment and create a possible assignment structure. So again, you can indicate the actual factor and use the factor that you are discussing as the actual heading for the section. And that might be a smarter way because the examiner can quickly, right, see the factor that you are discussing when the factor is used as a heading. Might be a smarter way, not so. Right, 4.0 factors supporting the localization of human resource practices in company X, right? So, and then you have two subheadings under that. 4.1, you might discuss institutional factors, right? 4.2, you might discuss legal constraints or legislation issues in Malaysia as the factors supporting localization of HRM, right? And then you may have now your fifth section, right? Reducing subsidiary risk using a localization. Notice local, not global, localization HR strategy, which is a relatively new sort of HR strategy where the British MNC may decide to use, right, both standardization of HRM functions and localization of HRM functions, right, and localization of HRM functions in the Malaysian climate. And that's the whole concept of localization, a hybrid form of HR where a multinational uses both global and local HRM functions, uses both local and global HRM functions. That's all, guys. And then we have optimizing HRM functions for sustainability of global subsidiaries, right? Sustainability is the ability to be able to continue now and in the future. In one of the themes, according to your assignment requirement, the examiner wants you to speak about sustainability. Because of the sustainability debate, this may lead to standardization of HRM functions or localization of HR functions, or localization of HR functions. So I'm going back to the chat now. Going back to the chat. Right? I'm going to ask a question. Okay. We have 28 participants so far. So any questions? Any questions so far? So we are going to discuss each of these sections in turn. So I'm seeing a question here. Can you discuss more on section 5? Right? Yes, I'm going to discuss all sections in turn. Right? I'm going to discuss all sections in turn. All sections in turn. Right? Yeah? Now, what assignment elements to include in the introduction? What assignment elements to include in the introduction? Right? What assignment elements to include in the introduction? And here I go back to, right? And here I go back to, I'm going to do a new share. I go back to the coursework, right? The actual coursework, right? Here I go back to the actual coursework where things that you might want to consider. They want to speak about sustainability, Hofstede's theory, and notions of cultural formalization, the functions of IHRM, cross-cultural issues, legal requirements and local processes, the 4 influences framework, the application discussion of ethnocentrism, polycentrism, and egocentrism, a definition of hosts and local managers, a discussion of localization, right? Specific issues of moving into a developing nation and the impacts of foreign direct investment, and then Black's model of in-country adjustment, right? So regardless of what you do and what you write, to get full marks, you have to be able to expand, to include, to incorporate, to analyze and interpret, right, these major themes that the examiner will be looking for in your individual report. So all of these themes must be hit, right? In order for you to achieve full marks for your assignment. In order for you to achieve full marks of in your assignment, all of these themes must be discussed. Yep. Right, yes, slides will be available. Right? Slides will be available. Kemba, Neptune, Daniel, would you be sharing an example? An example of what in particular? Right? An example of what? Right? Yes, I will share slides via email as usual. Example of a past paper. This is not a past paper. This is a written report. Kemba, this is not a past paper. This is a written report. A written report. Yes, written report. Yes, I will be sharing a previous assignment. Good. I will be sharing a written assignment, right? A written assignment, a sample, right? A sample assignment. With a mediocre grade, a B or C grade, not so, right? Of the framing of the assignment. So at this point in time, you should be doing a wealth of research, a wealth of reading. Right? The examiner is looking for evidence of essential reading as well as further reading. So your technical content has to show evidence that you have read, that you have done the research, that you understand the issues surrounding a multinational locating in a new subsidiary and that dilemma whether to standardize the HRM functions or to adopt post-country HRM functions, right? In my favorite adage, you cannot write what you have not read. You cannot write what you have not read. You need to read in order for you to write. Not so? Good? Right? Right? You need to read in order for you to write. Yes, so you have to show evidence that you have done the essential reading as well as further reading, which is why I would like to reiterate, because there's a wealth, right, of literature on this assignment topic. Any student can safely get about 40 to 50 references. Any student can safely get about 40 to 50 references for this assignment. Safely, right? 40 to 50 references for this assignment, bearing in mind that references must be less than 10 years old, must not be older than 10 years. It must be as current as within 10 years. Yeah? Okay. So any questions before we turn? Any questions? Please feel free to post it up on the chat. There are no silly questions. Thanks, Jude. So we use the opportunity to welcome Jude, right? Excellent. So let's now return. Right, to the PowerPoint. Again, let's now return to the PowerPoint, right? Again, so we will look at the elements of the introduction section at a later point in time this afternoon, right? Factors which encourage multinationals to use the IHRM functions of their host country locations to manage their workforce. So factors which encourage multinationals to use the IHRM functions of their host country locations to manage their workforce. So we are looking at, right, the case for localization, a case for localization, right? A case for localization. So one possible factor to discuss for the localization of HRM functions is cultural issues. So we must be able to determine what is the national culture of Great Britain, the home of this UK MNC. What is the national culture of Malaysia, right? How different are the two cultures? How similar are the two cultures, right? What are the differences in culture between Malaysia and the UK right? Differences in culture, differences in habits and beliefs and norms and religious underpinnings right? If Malaysian society is highly culturally oriented, then that will posit a case for the localization of HRM functions, right? Meaning that the British MNC will allow the new subsidiary to use Malaysian style of HRM practices because of the strong local culture in Malaysia, thereby giving a case for polycentric HRM functions or localized HRM functions or localized, right? Or localized HRM functions, right? Then strong cultural influences of the host country, and the host country being Malaysia, are likely to influence the HRM functions of recruitment, selection, training, performance management, pay issues, staff promotion, right? So we are saying that the culture of Malaysia are likely to influence the following HRM functions, right? That will be used by the new subsidiary. And these HRM functions tailored to the Malaysian context are likely to be different to the HRM functions of the British multinational. As you explore this cultural debate and how different the two cultures are, right? A term that you must speak about is the culture gap. The culture gap or the culture diversity, right, simply means, right, the difference, or in what ways are the two cultures different? In what ways or is the UK culture different to that of the Malaysian culture? How different is the host country culture different to the parent country of the UK MNC? That will posit a case for localization or standardization. Conversely, how culturally similar, how similar are the two cultures? And that might encourage the standardization of HRM functions. If the Malaysian culture is similar to that of the UK, that will posit a case for standardization of HRM practices. I will present a case for the standardization of HRM practices. The standardization of HRM practices. Very cool stuff, not so, guys? Yep, I can really see the excitement here. In units 1 and 2, when we started discussing in our face-to-face classroom sessions, we discussed at length cultural factors. In unit 2 in particular, unit 2 speaks about cultural and institutional perspectives, right? Which theories or models are attempted to explain how HRM functions are likely to be swayed by the cultural differences between countries. We look at the Hofstede's model, 2001. We look at the Hall and Hall model. We look at Troppernier's work, and Hazen's work. The better two of these models are the first two, Hofstede's work and the Hall and Hall model. Right? So let's quickly go through it here. Right? Let's quickly go through it. Yeah. Hofstede's model attempted to analyze and appreciate the national culture of a country along 5 dimensions. He attempts to analyze the national culture of a country along 5 dimensions: power distance, individualism, masculinity, uncertainty avoidance, and long-term orientation. And this is a model that we would have discussed in our class discussions, right? So let's now look at power distance. This reflects the degree to which an unequal distribution of power, right, between superiors and subordinates are accepted or rejected. So to what extent, right, is an unequal distribution of power between superiors and subordinates accepted and rejected? That's all? If it's accepted, managers tend to be a bit more democratic and paternalistic to the employees. Paternalistic means they seek the welfare of employees. If there's high power distance, managers are likely to be hands-off of the employees, more autocratic, right? And someone speaking down to the employees. Uncertainty avoidance is simply the degree to which the culture is willing or unwilling to embrace change. The degree to which the culture is willing or unwilling to embrace change. Like many of us, we find it very difficult to adapt in such living situations, as we are a bit difficult to embrace change, right? So I'm thinking that the British MNC, as you do your research, might be unwilling to accept change to a small extent, but the Malaysian subsidiary or the Malaysian climate, right, being a new startup, might be more willing, right, to embrace change, to embrace novel situations, to be creative. So Malaysia may score high on uncertainty avoidance. Then you have masculinity. To what extent is male and female professions accepted in society? So what is the extent of the divide between males and females in society? What is the extent of the divide? Then, now you are seeing what? Males traditionally occupying, right? You are seeing, right, males right? Yeah. They have masculinity. So to what extent are male jobs, traditionally male jobs, are taken up by women? What is the extent of women in traditionally male-oriented professions, like medicine, like the protective services, time orientation? To what extent is the country, right? Good. To what extent is the country, to what extent does the country look at the long term? To what extent does the country look at the short term? If it's short term, they're likely to do short term plans, right? Short term plans. If it's long term, then the company is thinking what far and wide. What markets do we venture into the 5 years time? What do we need to do today to prevent a business mayhap tomorrow? Not so, guys. And then individualism. Individualism reflects the degree to which a personal independence is valued over group membership. So to what extent does the Malaysian people value group membership as opposed to individual working? Now, I know the British people, some of them, I don't want to generalize, are individualistic, right? They more or less stick by themselves, they value their independence, not so, and they don't like to be controlled and told, right, what to do and how to do it. The Malaysian people might be a bit different, but because the Malaysian people strives on, right, group working, strives on group working. The Malaysian people strives on group working, right? They are team oriented, so you'll find family teams, close synergies and strategic alliances between manufacturers and suppliers and retailers and so on, right? More business relationships being fostered. more working teams and working groups and so on being fostered, right? As opposed to British MNCs. So right away, you know, what HRM functions are likely to be affected. Now, so guys, see the excitement here. Now, so I can see the excitement here. So take a 5 minutes, go through these factors, right? Go through these factors. Like, great guys. Yeah? So make sure that you incorporate a level of discussion of Hofstede's theory and how it will go about influencing the localization of HRM functions and what HRM functions are likely to be swayed by cultural factors in Malaysia. Another famous cultural model is the hall-on-hall culture model of 1990, right? It simply says, right, let us rate a society by the level of context. To this end, there are two types of context, high context and low context. High context cultures are like the family. Family members, through years of interaction, right, they know what to say, when to say, and how to say it. They can make relative eye contact with each other, right? And they can know what each member is thinking because of years of interaction. So you find that communication in high context cultures, right, is not really written down or coded in an explicit manner, right? People know what to say and how to interact and what alliances to form, right? Because of, you know, their strong social ties, right? With family members, strong social ties with business partners and persons in your social and professional networks. So the emphasis is more on non-verbal communication rather than verbal or written communication. So the Malaysian people, right? The Malaysian culture in particular, is it a high context culture or a low context culture? Based on my research, I would like to think, and you all will verify from your research, that the Malaysian culture is one of more of high context. Low context culture, right, represents the communication parts in an airport, in an immigration office, where the communication is based less on written notes and signage and posting, right? Is based less on, on family ties and social relationships. And it is based more on signage and documentation and so forth. for example, an airport is a low context culture. Communication is specific, well defined, explicit, written down. Green line, red line, blue line. Walk here, do not walk here. Baggage here, luggage here, check-in here, customs here. All these clues indicating that an airport is a low context culture where communication is highly defined and written down. Right? Good? Good? Right? Highly defined, right? And written down. So you find an airport, an immigration office, right? A book, a classroom, right? Are all examples of low context. Now, British MNCs or British culture can be described as low context. Malaysian national culture can be described as what? More so high context. So what are the cultural issues that may exist when a British MNC seeks to enter the Malaysian climate? Seeks to enter the Malaysian climate. Right? Seeks to enter the Malaysian climate. Now, as a hint, and I'll use the word hint or clue, remember that Malaysia is in the Commonwealth of the UK, the UK Commonwealth. And there's a large number of British MNCs already operating in Malaysia, right? So no strange reason why Malaysia was selected, right? So how to apply the Hall model? Look at these two questions, right? In the UK, is the UK high context or low context? We just said possibly low context, right? Again, right? For the host country, Malaysia, right? The national culture is more one of what? Low context, right? Is more one of high context. In Malaysia, the national culture is more one of high context, right? Where there is strong ties, family ties, social ties, professional ties between people, between organizations. So in Malaysia, because it is a high context culture, you will find that suppliers might be more willing to do business with local manufacturers and less willing to do business with, right, foreign entrants like British MNCs seeking to enter their global, well, the local competitive space. The local competitive space. Very super stuff, right, guys? Really makes us think. Really makes us think, not so, guys. Right? So I'm showing you how to adapt, not so, guys. Another major factor which may prompt the British MNC, right, to use local IHRM functions in the Malaysian climate is one of institutional factors. Institutional factors was spoken about in Unit 2 when I emailed you a PDF file. What is meant by institutional factors? Institutional factors are those domestic issues and domestic constraints that will sort of force or bottle an MNC to use local HRM functions according to the host country in which the MNC operates. So if the MNC operates in Malaysia, the MNC will be forced to use Malaysian human resource functions due to institutional factors, right? If the MNC operates in India, then the MNC will be forced to use Indian, right, HRM functions because of the local institutional factors of India. To this end, institutional factors will cover variables such as labor laws, HR laws, the national business system, the local education context, right? The event of trade unionism, collective pressures locally, workforce characteristics, workforce regulations and requirements. All these are examples of institutional factors. So local laws, local factors, national business system, local education context. If you don't indicate workers about the British context, then institutional factors will not have a bearing on forcing MNCs to use Malaysian HRM functions. Right? Government regulations. Does the host country government, Malaysia, impose hiring constraints, right? Labor constraints on the new MNC, this is what you have to research, right? Again, so in discussing institutional factors and its case for localization, right, and the case for right, institutional theory must be defined, right? Because of these factors, what HRM functions in Malaysia are likely to be used. Is it recruitment? Is it training and development? Is it wages and compensation? Is it trade unionism and collective bargaining? Right? This is what we like to figure out. Right? Super stuff, guys. Really makes us think. Right? So, Bobita Pasal, are we choosing one MNC? No, you're not choosing. It's a generic MNC that you are given. You have to assume that you are the consultant hired by the board for a British MNC, right? So you're not choosing as a make-believe MNC. The type or nature of the MNC was not given the assignment, right? Was not given, right? In the assignment. You follow me, guys? Yeah? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah? And so a lot of students indicating that they are falling. That's using the chat box. So asking my favorite question, have you all started the assignment? This is the real question. Amidst everything that is happening locally. Tasha said soon, so you all need to start this. No, we are waiting on you. Why are you waiting on me? Right, we have all the material. Bridget, I have a lot of material. Kemba, nope. And so you guys need to buckle down, use this weekend. Right, you have a test tomorrow, Power Vinol's test. Very good. Keep you guys busy. So after our test, Kemba, you are saying you're going to start your write-up for IHRM. Yeah, please do. This is a heavy assignment. And so we will do IHRM after according to Tasha. Not so? Good, good, good. Right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. Right, so you guys are following. I like that. That's important to do a spot check. So all these are the issues that make up institutional factors. Institutional factors are the factors localized to the Malaysian context. I have to dig deep here because the examiner is smart. The examiner asks us to perform a personal analysis of a British MNC sign up shop in Malaysia, right? So after doing the personal analysis, you will have a firm grasp of the issues, the economic, the social, the political, the dynamics in Malaysia that will sort of constrain the MNC and force the MNC to use Malaysian style of HRM functions. So what type of HR laws are in effect, right? What regulations the Malaysian government will impose on the British subsidiary, right? Then, what's the nature of the education system, and does the education system allow the Malaysian economy to provide talented staff required by the multinational? Again, workforce characteristics. What is the size of the working population in Malaysia? What is the size of low-skilled workers, semi-skilled workers, highly skilled workers? The size. What's the size? Not so. Yeah. So institutional factors, guys, are very important. This presents a case for the localization, forcing the MNC to use localized HRM functions in Malaysia. Right? Sustainability now. Sustainability and MNCs reducing risk in managing people at their international locations. Right? Reducing risk in managing people at their international locations is sustainability debate. Right? Now, this new subsidiaries, as I said, as implied, is a new one. No MNC will want to spend resources for a new branch or a new subsidiary to fail, right? They will do what they could and what they can and what they have to do in order to make the new subsidiary in Malaysia very successful. And that's all, guys, right? So this may present a case for standardization. Let's practice what we know. Let us use what we know best. What do we know best? Our British-based, performance-driven HR practices. Recruit our own, train them, empower them, pay them well, and they will are likely to perform. So the company may decide to use an ethnocentric style of staffing, ethnocentric training, ethnocentric performance appraisals. Conversely, quite differently, right? Quite differently, the company may say, we don't know anything about the Malaysian economy, you know. We can't simply impose our British ways of doing things. We need to understand the Malaysian context through our PESA analysis. And let's, you know, be free-spirited and use what works for us. What may work for us in Malaysia is to use Malaysian style of HRM functions. Because domestic operators like manufacturer, suppliers, service companies might be using Malaysian cultural HRM functions. I might be working for them. So let's use Malaysian style and Malaysian driven HRM functions, right? Why? Why did they come to this realization? Because they want the new subsidiary in Malaysia to be successful, to survive, right? To grow and to prosper and to take root in Malaysia, right? They want the new subsidiary in Malaysia to be sustainable, So the company may decide, right? So the company may decide, in order to guarantee the survival and the viability and the profitability of the new subsidiary, let's use polycentric staffing. Let's use global staffing. Let's use Malaysian-based training. Let's use Malaysian-styled performance appraisals. At the same time, if we are using ethnocentric staffing and we believe that we need to export our UK managers to Malaysia in order to ensure our expatriates do not fail, let's train them well. Let's, you know, provide them with adjustment training, cross-cultural training, after we appreciate the cultural gap between Malaysia and Great Britain. So all of these ideas are geared towards sustainability. All of these ideas are geared towards sustainability. All of these ideas, the sustainability and viability and the long-term survival of the new subsidiary in Malaysia. The sustainability debate. Now, the big question is, where in the report are you going to introduce the sustainability debate? In the introduction, in the body of the write-up, right? in the body of the write-up, right? In the conclusion of the write-up, where are you going to introduce the sustainability debate, right? Right? Now, the decision whether to standardize or localize HRM functions, right, is in fact a strategic decision geared towards the survival, the profitability, and the sustainability of the new subsidiary in Malaysia. One of the better places to discuss it is in the introduction, right? Is in the introduction paragraph, is in that executive summary, right? Because the MNC wants the foreign operation to survive, to be a fruit, to be viable and profitable, to be sustainable now and in the future. The company has to decide and make this strategic decision. Do we standardize or do we localize our HRM functions in Malaysia? In Malaysia. And as the whole drive towards sustainability. You all for me, guys? And as the whole drive, right, towards sustainability. Right? So let's go back to the introduction. Let's go back to the introduction. What are assignment elements to include in the introduction? Right? What are assignment elements to include in the introduction section? What are assignment elements? Right? Good? Right? What are assignment element? Right? All right, then discuss the following. You should be seeing this typing in real time, right? Should be seeing this typing in real time. Discuss the following, right? Right, it's a strategic decision. It's a strategic decision. The UK MNC, right, has to make. It's a strategic decision, right? Right, linked to, right, the sustainability of the new subsidiary, right, of the new subsidiary, linked to the sustainability of the new subsidiary. Not so, yeah, right? Introduce, right? Right, Pearl Motors, right? Pearl Motors ethnocentric, where the company, right? Ethno, right? Centric, right? Polycentric, not so, right? And geocentric, right? And geocentric orientations, not so, yeah, right? Clearly, right? Clearly discuss, right? Clearly discuss, right? Right? Host managers, right? And host managers, or what we say, local managers, not so, and foreign, and let's say parent company managers. Clearly discuss host or local managers and parent company managers, and parent company managers, right? And parent company managers. Your introduction section, right, must indicate what you are prepared to discuss in the body, right? What you are prepared to discuss in the body. So your introduction section is like a trailer. It's like a trailer clip for the report. It's like a trailer clip for the report. What is the for? You know, you can watch a trailer for a movie and know what the entire movie is all about. That's the purpose of the introduction. A trailer clip, a summary, a synopsis of what is to follow in the body and the conclusion section, right? What outcome you are driving at. So must indicate what you are prepared to discuss in the body, right? Right, for example, right, here you outline the factors for standardization and the factors, right, for localization. I won't write it out. The factors for S, right, standardization, right, and the factors for, right, L, localization, right? So you want to ensure that you discuss all the themes as outlined in your assignment requirements. That is what you want to ensure. You discuss all the themes as outlined in the assignment requirements. Yep. So your introduction section should be around, you know, about 180 words. Right? Not more than that. That's okay. So it's a skillful piece of writing. Right? So it's a skillful piece of writing. Super stuff, eh? You really see the excitement here. Zoom is very, very cool, not so guys. Right? Yeah? So Bridget, yes, right. In your conclusion, right? In your conclusion section, right? In the conclusion section, or even right in the or even in the introduction, you can take a stance, right? You can take a stance whether to standardize, or localize, right? Anyway, you can take a stance. It is better to take a stance up front and define it throughout the body of the report. That's an excellent question, Bridget. Excellent question, right? Again, according to, right? According to Tasha, we are not, right, identifying any MNC. It is a general MNC scenario given to us. We are assuming to be the HR consultant advising the board of directors of this MNC. Now, so please read the assignment requirements carefully. Yep. Again, what do you all think about the introduction? Right? So in the introduction again, right? Possibly indicate your stance, right? Your position, whether to standardize or to localize, whether to standardize or to localize. Indicate your position, whether to standardize or to localize Yeah. Right? Natasha, very good. Remember, there are no silly questions. Good. Right? Any doubt? Right? But yeah, you can, according to Bridget, you can indicate your stance and then discuss the two, right, in the body, and then consolidate and indicate your position now in the conclusion section. Right? In the conclusion section. So you present the factors, right? You present the factors for standardization, present the factors for localization, and then you indicate your stance, right? Through consolidating in your conclusion section, right? Again, keep it simple. 2 factors for standardization, 2 factors for localization, right? Super stuff. 2 factors each, Tash. Yeah. There's a lot of research. Now, make sure, I'm typing this in the chat, make sure there's an alignment. Look at the chart, guys, right? Between the factor being discussed, yeah, the HR strategy being used, and when I say HR strategy being used, whether standardization or localization, and the HRM function, right, used. This is what the examiner would like to see. So he discussed the factor and state where the factor encourages standardization, localization, right? And what HRM function is likely to be used, whether a recruitment HR function according to Malaysian style will be used, or whether the multinational may choose to use performance-driven recruitment, performance-driven promotions, performance-driven pay in the new subsidiary in Malaysia, rather than use, Malaysian HRM functions. That's the connection that we need to see. That's all, guys. Because in mentoring and coaching students for the assignment, and even looking at the previous examiner reports for the release grades in the past, students more discuss the factor rather than discuss how the factor links to the type of HRM function, right? Rather than discuss how the factor influences the type of HRM function, whether British MNC-based recruitment or Malaysian-based recruitment, whether British MNC-based training as opposed to Malaysian-based training. And that's important. That's important. Yeah, making that link, right? So you go back to the major theme of the assignment, you go back to the 3 sub-questions of the assignment. That's important, guys. So you need to read and look for what is not said in your assignment requirements, right? As you read your assignment requirement document, always look for what is not said. Yeah? Really, really exciting. Yeah? The excitement for this assignment is like a one-way street in one direction only. That was a joke. And I'll drink some tea for that. Yes, Bridget, that's correct. That's correct. My test and factors get taken into consideration, pointers to include from the brief. Great, that's correct. So the assignment is easy to piece up. You can write a paragraph a day for the next 10 days, and you have 10 paragraphs, and you build an assignment using appropriate headings and so on. Choose headings that relate to the assignment. Well, and you only 1 review per student for the assignment. Only 1 review. The assignment due date is when? April 29th. Can I assume that? So you can submit to me by April the 20th. You can submit to me by April the 20th for a review. April the 20th. That would be very generous. April the 20th. You can write this assignment this weekend. You have tomorrow afternoon and you have whole day Sunday. You can write the assignment. April 20th. April 20th. Right? To submit the assignment for a review. right? For a review, right? Yep. Very nice. Yep. And so no questions, we can move on. Right? So we discuss the cultural factors, institutional factors, the sustainability debate, right? The sustainability debate, right? Okay. And next week we'll discuss some more factors. So we have to discuss the factors specifically by reviewing some journal articles to see how those authors would have couched the material and explore the issues. So during the course of this week, I'm going to upload or email to you, right, 2 journal articles that we will review for our next session, that we are going to review for our next session. 2 journal articles, right? Again, we still have to go through but we went through the staffing models already. You have to introduce the staffing models according to Perlmutter early upfront: ethnocentric, polycentric, geocentric. We still have to go through the 4 influences framework. That's a framework in one of the free IHRM textbooks, which I gave the class. So we have to go through this framework next week very quickly. And then 2 journal articles. And we have to go through Black's model of in-country adjustment, right? There are some quick clues on the references section. I would say about 40 references altogether. A lot has been said, 40 references altogether, 30 to 40, right? 30 right, to 40 references altogether. Proper usage and formatting of in-text citations, proper referencing at this point in time. Go back to your rules of referencing. Referencing style is Harvard referencing system. You want to reveal to the examiner that you know how to reference, or that you have used content from different sources, from the textbooks, the 2 textbooks that they gave you in your assignment brief. You must use material from these 2 textbooks. And I want to underscore that. These are the 2 recommended textbooks for the course. You have to, whether you have it or you don't have it, research an abstract table of contents. Tell her, massage the material to say it came from a textbook. If you don't have access to the textbook, the textbook should be available on UH online Canvas resource. Relevant journal articles and online resources must be used. Journal articles, online websites, and so on must be used. What students often do, they often go to Wikipedia, Ask Jeeves, Google Scholar, UKessays.com, and they attempt to pull material from unaccredited sources, not listed on the assignment requirements, and they get 50 out of 100, and they ask the question, why did I get 50 out of 100? Why did I get 50 out of 100? Because you simply did all your research on Google and use online resources and failed to use the resources, the textbooks, the journal articles that the examiner wanted you to use. So that is why your marks can come in low. Now, so given the situation, COVID-19, all the extra time that you may have, I think you have the extra time to do some greater research. Not so. Reference entries in a reference list should not be bulleted. And notice we are still bulleting reference entries. Not so, guys. Reference entries in a reference list, bibliography section should be sorted in alphabetical order. It should be sorted in alphabetical order. Reference sources should be less than 10 years old, right? reference sources, right, should be less than 10 years old. Reference sources should be less than 10 years old, and that's important. Yeah? So these are some clues as you start, right, to write your individual report. So as you write a paragraph, you stick in the references and you populate your reference list at the end of the assignment. As you use a reference, make sure it is properly coded in terms of the in-text reference, and then put the entry immediately in your reference list. Then put the reference immediately in your reference list, right? In your reference list, right? So a quick synopsis there, not so guys. Yeah? Right? So let's backtrack what we have done today. Saturday, 28th March, we recapped the assignment requirements, the assignment structure. We went through, we discussed some factors for standardization, some factors for localization, right? So we covered our learning outcomes. Let's just quickly plan what we are going to do next week. Let's just quickly plan what we are going to do, right, next week, right? So, right, next week's session, right, we are going to, next week's session, I believe, is what of April? It would be the 4th of April, very good. So April 4th, right, 2020, right? Next week, what we are going to do, right, we are going to review, right, the 4 influences, right, framework, right, Black's, right, adjustment, right, model, and we are going to review, right, journal articles. And this is a very important, review journal articles on the topic. This is important, not so guys. We have to review quite a few journal articles to see how, to look at the writing style, to reevaluate the technical content, to explore the issues, right? To explore the issues. Again, the following week, right, I will show you, even next week if we have time, I will show you how to build one of the factors, how to discuss one of the factors in real time, right? How to discuss one of the factors in real time. Again, and possibly we can look at that next week as well too, right? And possibly we can look at that next week, right? Not so, because we could be a bit more productive, right, with the online methods. Not so guys. Yeah, we are productive, right, with online methods. Not so guys. Yeah. Yeah. Yep, yes, Bridget, that would be helpful. Yes. Yes. Definitely so. Right? Definitely so. Not so guys. Yep. Very, very helpful. Good. So, any questions on the assignment? Any questions on the assignment? Any questions on the assignment? Right. No questions? Any questions on the assignment, guys? Good. No questions on the assignment? I return to video mode. Right. I return to video mode. Again, so I've stopped the slide share. No questions, you are good to go? Right? You're very welcome, Natalie. Right, you're very welcome. Right? Remember, there are no silly questions. I know you may have your doubts. I know we not meeting face to face. Right? Again, I hope you all adhere to the stay at home for the next 2 weeks or so, starting from tomorrow night. I know that our daily dynamics are changing, right, with the spread of COVID-19. So I trust you and your families and so on are adhering to the rules, the regulations, right? You'll stay in touch with the news, stock up on your gas, food supplies, your perishables, and so on as best as possible, right? Again, we can still be productive work-wise as well as academically as well, right? Again, thanks to Jude and the CTS team for quickly responding, right, to the COVID-19 and keeping students engaged and managing the student learning process. I know the school would have, in the past week, would have purchased Zoom accounts with no timeouts. They would have actually gone and purchased Zoom accounts so that we don't have to start the session every 40 minutes. And this is excellent because big institutions are timing out their sessions after 40 minutes because of the high cost to purchase these Zoom accounts and so on. And they're using the demo version of Zoom. CTS actually went and purchased individual Zoom accounts for each of the programs so the session won't time out and so on. So thanks to the CTS team, thanks to Jude, very responsive. Right? Good, excellent. So I will send you the uploaded documents and so on. So folks, have a good afternoon, right? Have a great afternoon. Thanks, Jude, right? And you all keep good. God bless.